What's up, guys? Welcome back to today's episode of The Sports Sermon. We are brought to you by Scooch, the most functional phone case on the market. Check out ScoochCase.com to get yours today and use the code SPORTS18, sports with a Z, of course, to get a 10% discount on your order. Stay tuned till the end for a special Scooch giveaway as well. But now, today's episode.
Hello and welcome inside the Sports Sermon. I am Dylan Steige here today with Jason Gandhi and Dan Majors. And as you can tell by the title, today we are talking about the Philadelphia Eagles. So, as a year ago, as we all know, they finished 13-3 in the regular season and won the Super Bowl with Nick Foles coming in the playoffs and just dominating his way to a Super Bowl victory over the New England Patriots. But the Eagles are back at it this year, and Carson Wentz is getting the job back at quarterback. How does he deal with all the expectations and pressure coming back from injury and being on the defending Super Bowl champions?
I think he'll be fine. I mean, he's Carson Wentz. He's still the same guy. Can still ball out. He's a top 5 QB for me. I wasn't really worried about it.
Yeah, I think he deals with it fine, exactly. I mean, He's one of the best quarterbacks in the league, went healthy.
And he's Super Bowl champ.
Facts.
And should have been the MVP if he didn't get hurt. Like, he's doing everything he should. He's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, as long as his knee doesn't have any long-term lingering issues, I think he should definitely be okay. I think he still has something to prove because he didn't win the Super Bowl. It was Nick Foles last year. And obviously the Eagles have protection and plenty of weapons for Carson Wentz to work with on this squad. The Eagles front office has done a great job building a team around him. But what is your guys' favorite unit on the Eagles? They're deep all around, have a lot of pieces, but what is your favorite unit on the squad?
Favorite or best?
Yeah.
Best. Well, I guess
both. We can do both.
Let's go ahead both.
So for the best unit, I feel like this might be the easiest question you've ever asked me, Dylan. The quarterback position. They have a top 5 quarterback in the Super Bowl MVP. Like, that's easy. You have to look at the top 5 quarterback and the reigning Super Bowl MVP. Find me a better position. My favorite position? This one, I have to go back and forth between. I really think that I'm going to go with the defensive line because I love my boy Brandon Graham. He just plays with so much swag. They signed Michael Bennett, another guy with so much swag, and Derek Barnett's a stud, along with obviously Fletcher Cox and all of them. So that's probably my favorite just because they've just got some nasty dudes on that front line. But the best, I don't think there's a debate. It's the quarterbacks.
I'm going to say tied for first is defensive line and the quarterback position. I mean, even though they lost Vinny Curry and Bo Allen, I'll say the defensive line. Haloti Ngata and Michael Bennett, I think, will replace those guys just fine.
I have a question for you. Is there a Super Bowl MVP on there and a top 5 player at their position?
Right.
No. Quarterbacks.
I mean, yeah, but it's just like...
It's hard to admit to, but come on. It's facts.
I mean,
the best unit. If you need, what more do you want from a quarterback position?
I mean, I also said the defensive line because, I mean, they're deep everywhere, but a lot of teams would be happy to have their backups as their starters. But
the best unit, this is really the ideal situation you can have in NFL football. A top 5 quarterback and a Super Bowl MVP from the past season, not even like a washed-up one. Like, that's the best situation
Yeah,
you can
I am
have
trying to
for.
think of a better one.
Exactly. Unless you have the number 1 and the number 2, like if you have Tom Brady and Drew Brees. Okay,
Tom Brady and Jimmy Garoppolo, that was pretty solid.
They didn't have a Super Bowl MVP and a top 5 quarterback.
The best quarterback in the league, along with probably...
The best prospect. We had no idea what he was at the time. See, that's what I'm
But,
saying.
hindsight's
2020, so, I mean, that doesn't matter, right? If you look at the best unit, what do you want? Top 5 QB, Super Bowl MVP. Best unit, enough said. Who's your favorite unit, Dan?
Probably the quarterback.
Yeah, you just flip.
I'm a fan of the safeties, actually. Malcolm Jenkins, really solid. Rodney McLeod hits really hard. Yeah, that's my favorite unit.
The safeties are ballers.
Yeah.
I love Chris Maragos. He's a baller on special teams. He actually is. He's so good.
All right. So, one last question before we get into the Eagles' record prediction and all that. Are the Eagles the most talented team in the NFL?
No. They're not. I want to know what you guys say first, and I'll tell you why, but I just want to see what you guys say. No, they're not.
I say yes.
Oh
I'm guessing
God.
you're going to say the Jaguars.
No. I mean, that's one of them. I have the Eagles at 4.
I say yes. They have a top 5 quarterback,
Nope.
a top 5 tight end,
Nope.
Wait,
top 5 tight. I was kidding, but top 5 tight end. Do you think Zach Ertz is top 5 in the league?
Yeah,
pretty close.
I think he's close, but I'm just saying, keep going. Yeah.
Okay, one of the best offensive lines anchored by Lane Johnson, Jason Peters, and Brandon Brooks, and then they probably have the best defensive front in the league. So,
how about the linebacker in the secondary?
I mean,
I'm just saying.
I think they're also really good too.
I'm just saying. For me, I have them at number 4 for this year. Moving forward, I have them at number 3, maybe number 2. For this year, in terms of most talented, not the best team, the most talented team.
Yeah.
For number 1, I have the Minnesota Vikings. And I've been saying this since the draft. Like, this isn't me hyping on the bandwagon. I've been saying this since the draft when I got my cues. Definitely the Vikings at number 1. For me, number 2 are the Los Angeles Rams. They are so freaking talented. And number 3 is got to be the Jacksonville Jaguars because I'm a believer in Blake Bortles, and that's the one thing they lack is a star quarterback. And I think he is a top 12 quarterback in this league this year. So with all those things combined, I see the Eagles be number 4. In terms of best team, I think they're number 2. I think they're behind the Vikings. But in terms of most talent, I think they're number 4 just because the Rams, Jags, and Vikings are so freaking top-heavy.
See, I also think that I also agree with Dan. I think the Eagles are the most talented team because there's really just not a hole in this team. I think the Rams add a lot of star power, but I don't think they have the same depth or the same offense all around, but mostly quarterback as the Eagles. I think the Jags, obviously, they're the most talented on the defensive side, but that offensive side, I think there's a lot of questions outside of Leonard Fournette. And then the Vikings.
Insane.
Yeah.
Their offensive line's so good.
But the Eagles is probably the best in the league for me.
No.
right?
No, come on now.
What do you? I mean, like this, like Jason Peters is out last year, and like they still had a great one. Jason Kelsey, Brandon Brooks, Lane Johnson.
Vaitai, however you say him, struggled last year.
No, he didn't. He had a solid season.
No, he didn't. Like he was struggled. Like that was a fact. Like he struggled last year. And Steven Wisniewski, whatever his name is, I don't think he's going to be the starter all 16 games next year. So I don't know. I would take multiple teams' offensive line before I would take the Eagles. They're probably top 5. That's the thing. I think this is a top 5 talent team.
And then one last team that I didn't cover. I think the Vikings defense is probably about equal with the Eagles, maybe a smidge better, but I think the Eagles
defense is better.
I think the offense is more proven on the Eagles. So
I don't know, Dylan. I think you're sleeping on the Vikings.
I think I definitely like Carson Wentz more than Kirk Cousins, and then they also have a better offensive line. The Vikings definitely have better receivers, and I think Ajayi and Cook are probably about equal.
I do not agree with that, but I don't know. I mean, I'm just looking at the offensive lines around the league. I don't think they're number 1 by any means, but I think they're still good. Don't get me wrong, but like I would take the Jags offensive line. I think they're really good.
Not at all.
Find me a hole there. Cam Robinson, Andrew Norwell, and Brandon Linder are literally like, how do you beat that?
With Jason Peters, Jason Kelsey, Brandon
Jason
Brooks.
Peters didn't play last year. You have no idea how good he is.
I mean, like he had like 10 solid years
Please tell me
before
they're going to beat the
that.
Rams. Please tell me they're going to beat the Rams. Andrew Whitworth, Roger Saffold, John Sullivan, Jamon Brown, and Robert Havenstein. It's literally an A+ offensive line.
I mean, I like the Eagles more. I think they're the best in the league.
And the Steelers with Alejandro Villanueva, Ramon Foster, Marquise Pouncey.
All right, are you just going to read every offensive line?
I'm going to read you ones that are better. I'm telling you which ones are better. We're talking about it. Alejandro Villanueva, Ramon Foster, Marquise Pouncey, David DeCastro, Marcus Gilbert. Which one? That's definitely better 1 through 5 from there. Yes! You are telling, hold on right now. You're telling me Brandon Brooks is better than David DeCastro.
Yeah.
How? Give me a reason why. Give me one reason why. Tell me what you know about Brandon Brooks. You don't know poop about Brandon Brooks, so get off me.
He was great last season.
Yeah, what did he do? What did he do one time? You don't know what anything that Brandon Brooks did. Come on now. Don't try me on this.
Bro.
Yeah, okay. Unbelievable. Trying to call out the Steelers' offensive line. Oh my gosh.
Okay.
You are unbelievable.
You are annoying. Let's get to the Eagles' record.
The offensive line.
The record prediction, place in the division, and whether the Eagles. I think we all have them in the playoffs, but how far they go from there. So let's hear it.
Yeah, I'm 11-5. A lot depends on Wentz's health and the offensive line. I think he's ready to go by week 1 or 2, but if this offensive line can keep him up straight and show they're one of the best in the league, then I see them being a legit Super Bowl contender and repeating. But for me, the X factor, definitely the offensive line.
I have the Eagles at 12-4, definitely first in the NFC East, and I have them going back to the Super Bowl but losing to the Steelers.
Would you trust their offensive line against Jacksonville in the Super Bowl?
I don't think Jacksonville's going to make it to the Super Bowl.
I'm just asking if they got there, would you trust them?
I think they'd be fine.
You would? You'd take them over the Jacksonville defense?
I mean, not over, but I think they're probably one of the best in the league too.
But you wouldn't be worried about it or anything?
I wouldn't be like, oh no, the Eagles are going to just completely fall apart.
Okay, yeah, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I have 11-5.
All right.
Dan's going off the rails.
All right, I have an 11-5. I think they win the division, obviously, and then make the playoffs. I think they make a solid run too. I'm not sure they repeat, but
Dan, I gotta ask you the same question.
Yeah, that offensive line's great, Jason.
No, about the Jaguars. If they have to face them, how do you like the Eagles' offensive line stacking up against the Jags?
I mean, those are two of the best in the league going at it. So
who do you give the edge to?
Ooh, that's tough.
I know. Who do you give it to?
Yeah, I don't know.
I know. It's a tough question. It really is. But for me, I don't know. I always give the edge to the defensive line the Jaguars have. They're just incredibly deep. And I don't know. I don't think the Eagles are the best offensive line in the NFL. Dylan?
All right. Well, I think that's all we've got for the Philadelphia Eagles today. If you want to check out the rest of our NFL team previews, go ahead and check out that playlist on YouTube. Subscribe to us on YouTube or Spotify, SoundCloud, iTunes, whichever platform you like the most. And then comment on this video. How do you see the Eagles doing this season?
Yeah, this podcast went off the rails. I want to know your guys' thoughts on the Eagles' offensive line, though. Make sure you comment on that. Do you see them as the best offensive line with Peters, Wisniewski, Kelsey, Brooks, and Johnson returning? We've made it very clear. I don't think so. Dylan does. Dan's kind of on the fence. So, yeah, I want to hear that. But this podcast has gone off the rails. We apologize for that. It's been a fun one. Go check out the NFC East rivals, though, for sure, and see. I mean, the Cowboys, they've been talking about having the best offensive line in the country. Do we think they're better than the Eagles? All that and more.
Does Mexico have better offensive line?
Who?
Mexico? I mean, since they're the best in the country.
Do you get it?
You said in the country. So you said instead of the league, you said the country.
I mean, they're all in the same country.
Yeah, I know.
Okay, it was a joke.
I'm so confused. This podcast really has gone off the rails. That's an interesting way to end it. But shout out Mexico. Shout out the Eagles offensive line. We're just going to wrap this thing up. Our sponsor is Scooch. We love them. Go get a Scooch case. What just happened?